Here we go. There we go. Good. Oh, well, thank you so much all for joining. I'm really pleased to see you and pleased to be able to update on progress in relation to the association. And a special welcome this evening to Therapeutic Garden Tours and to Anna and to Kat. Did you guys want to just say hi and what you've been up to this week or where you've been today? That'd be nice. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. I'll jump in first. I'm sorry about the background noise. We went to Thrive Battersea last week during our first tour, and we're really looking forward to going to Beech Hill tomorrow with our second tour. So over to you, Kath.
No, I haven't got a cat, but maybe we'll catch that later. Yeah, really pleased to be able to welcome you. And have we got some of your tour delegates joining us as well somewhere? Are they on with Kat? No. Okay. Well, oh, you're on mute, Anna. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. We're going to report back to them, so I'll give them a full
Okay.
report in the morning. I think they're a bit jet lagged. Well, that's their excuse anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. So Anna and Kath have been doing a tour this week, which you might have seen a bit online, and yeah, kind of sharing and yeah, so it's really great to welcome you as well. So yeah, let's just kind of plan for this evening. I'm Ben. I'm from Thrive. If you don't know me, we've also from the kind of group we've got Emma and Fiona and Christina, kind of who are all working on behind the scenes together to kind of move this forward. So our plan for this evening is that we're going to have a little bit of a recap on things that we've done so far, share a bit about the forward plan, and then Emma's going to share in kind of updates on the changes we've made to routes to registration based on the feedback, have a little bit of time talking about the competencies, and then we've got a kind of extended session looking at continuing professional development, and there'll be opportunity for kind of discussion, and then we'll wrap up and close just before sort of 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock. Okay, so let me just share screen and then I can show the work to date. Okay, can you all see that? Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, kind of in terms of activities that we've done so far, so right back at the beginning, sort of establish a sort of management group, project plan, and a sort of working arrangement between Thrive and Trellis, and to kind of really drive this work forward. We've drafted and consulted on and amended a code of ethics, standards of practice, and routes to registration. We've established this group, which is really about kind of hearing, kind of getting information and sharing and getting feedback and developing outputs. And so it's a really important group. Done a lot of work engaging with new professional bodies to learn from them, from sort of SDH bodies around the world and what they're doing, and brought that back in. We published the code of ethics, agreed the role definition, and published practice standards as well. So lots of great things that are kind of already happened and kind of moving us towards where we want to be. In terms of kind of future steps and development, let me just see if I can move it to the next slide, sorry. So where are we going in terms of forward steps and plans? So kind of next activity is going to be looking at the competencies, so finishing off the draft, doing the consultation, making the changes as a result of that, and then publishing it. You can see that there's sort of two big blocks. One is kind of looking at and creating the policies, terms and conditions, looking at the risks for the association. That's going to be a big piece of the next sort of part of the work. The other big block in there is sort of developing a means to publish the register publicly, sort of ideally some sort of website that will have where the register can be. We've got work to kind of revise the entry requirements, and we're talking a little bit about that this evening. Step to kind of agree what the expectations are around CPD. So what would the requirements be, if and how we're going to monitor that? So kind of decision point to make there. Once we've kind of got all of those documents together, then we need to kind of really test them and look at them all together to make sure that the documents themselves work together. Another kind of key decision is to think about the cost of the kind of application and the annual cost of membership. How do we make that appropriate to make it sort of financially sustainable, but also affordable for people doing it? So we've got some decisions to make there. And then, real plan to kind of develop and test the process for registration. And then after that, then we'll be looking to get the kind of communication out there and make the register sort of publicly available for people to do it. We sort of map that out across a timescale over the next sort of year, but we're not going to hold ourselves really kind of tightly to it. It's more important for us that we kind of do each of these steps right, and we build it really in the right way, and that it's developed with hearing from kind of working groups, and also developed following feedback as well. So I'm going to stop sharing now. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of kind of clarity as to some of the steps we've already taken, and some of the steps that we are kind of planning in the next 12 months. And that will get us to where we're working towards as a group in kind of developing the UK Association for Social and Therapeutic Horticulture. So I'm going to hand over to Emma, who's going to share more and talk about the routes to registration.
Hi everyone, it's great to see you all. I am just going to share my slides and then I'll get started. Hopefully that is starting to head your way. I'll just get to the first slide. Can everyone see that okay? Oh. I can't see you. I've removed all your faces because I think it covers up my presentation. So I'm hoping that the silence means yes. If you do want to ask any questions or button, just do pop them into the chat, and maybe somebody, Christina or Fiona or Ben, could let me know if there's a specific question that has popped up. So I'm going to be talking about the routes to registration. So this is a bit of work we've been doing for a little while now, and we did present this to the forum around a year ago. And there was a survey that went out, and everyone that either comes along to the forum or isn't on the forum mailing list with Trellis or Thrive gave us feedback. So we have now done some work to update the routes to registration. Nothing major, so you shouldn't see anything that has changed too much, but we thought it would be helpful to let you know what changes we had made, and also just give a bit of a summary of the routes to registration for people that might be new to this work. I don't have too long today, so I won't go into as much detail as I did last time, but I can give you a link to the previous forum where we discussed it if you'd like to watch that back. And we'll make sure the new document is uploaded to the usual page on the Trellis website in the next week or so. My email's at the end as well if you'd like to ask any questions. So when I was writing this, I thought it would be helpful just to kind of remind myself, but also all of us, why we're doing this work in the first place and the whole purpose of the association and the register. So the working purpose for some time now has been to inspire and champion excellence in social and therapeutic horticulture, and to grow the STH profession for the benefit of the public's health and well-being. So we've always got that in mind when we're creating any of the documents or processes, that it should be of benefit to public health and well-being, but also supportive to practitioners as well. And these are the strategic aims of the association. I won't read them all out, but one of the aims is the top one there, to set and uphold professional standards and maintain a register of approved practitioners. And so when we were doing the work to develop the routes to registration, we have kept in mind, as do all other registers that exist for many other professions, a focus on public well-being, public protection and professional standards, and including widespread access to STH. So we're trying to sort of work towards STH being available to more people, and to the services that are provided being high quality and safe for people that come along to them. And so when we started this off, we thought the best thing to do is to look at routes to registration that already exist for lots of other comparable professions, to learn from them in terms of what was working, what wasn't working, speak to people who are on those registers and find out, any pitfalls or difficulties, but also the benefits to being on a register. And then we also looked at therapeutic horticulture registers internationally to find out how they were registering practitioners that work in their countries, because we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We wanted to learn from what was already happening. And so we then presented the routes to registration, which I'll come to in a minute, at a professional development forum, and shared them with the big network of practitioners who sign up to get emails about this work. We asked you about your skills, your training, your experience, and your feedback on the routes to registration document specifically, because we always wanted this register to be something that made sense to the people that are hopefully going to be joining it. And we also, similarly to that, wanted to make sure that the register process was fair, that it was accessible, and that allowed as many people to register as possible while still upholding professional standards and public protection. So there's always that kind of balance of both. And so the aims of the register specifically were to provide benefit to public health and well-being through high quality services, to register practitioners who meet the registered requirements and are also providing safe and effective services, and to make sure that the application processes are accessible and that people who join them sign up to the code of ethics and the standards of practice that have already been developed, and to make sure that the application processes are fair and ethical, and they'll always be under review. So for people who have seen this before, the main changes that have been made, so as I mentioned, they aren't huge. Initially, we had 3 routes into this register, and now we have a sort of branched route at the beginning where people who are newly qualified, who've taken part in training in STH, but haven't yet worked for up to a year, can join, because we felt that when we were looking at numbers of hours of practice, that particular group hadn't really been covered and also might require different kinds of support. And there's lots more thought to be done around that. We have edited it, taking into account all of your survey feedback and opinions to try and make sure that it's as clear and also as concise as possible. We don't want it to be too unwieldy a document. We want it to be a working document that makes sense to people. And we did have, it would be required that people would submit a CV alongside their application for all the routes. And people felt that that wasn't necessary for route 1, which I will come back to in a minute. So they are the main changes. And if you go and have a look at the new routes document when it's up on the website, they'll be the things for you to have a look out for. So these are the 4 routes now. So the first 2 are one that is branched into A and B. So it's for people who want to join the register through having done training, specific training in social and therapeutic horticulture. And for route 1A, that would be for people who've just completed their training and they haven't been practicing for very long or have been practicing for less than a year. So they would come in through that route. The next one along is the exact same, but just for people who have been practicing for more than a year. Route 2 is for people who have training in health or care or any of the allied health professions, and then have gone on to do additional training or learning or work experience in horticulture and social and therapeutic horticulture. And then Route 3 is for people who feel that they don't fit into any of those first routes. So we know that for a long time, people have been working in STH and they haven't necessarily had access to training or been able to access training. So we want to make sure, as we mentioned, that it is an accessible process for people. So people who access via that route will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. So for each of these routes, there is a whole column on the full document where you can read through each of the routes and see which one you think would make most sense for you or for other people that you're supporting. And hopefully it will work for everyone that wants to join the register, but we will have to think about, potentially changing things if there are things that don't work. It's going to be an ongoing process looking at how this works for everyone. But a lot of work has gone into it now, and we're hopeful that it will work and make sense. Again, I won't read all this out. This is all detailed in the end of the Routes to Registration document, but it just covers some of the things that we think we'll need to ask for people who want to join the register. So things like an application form, like you might expect, potentially a case study, maybe a reflective account of time and practice, various certificates, things like confirming that you've got professional documentation in place, and insurance in place. So a lot of this is around making sure that people who come along to services are safe, but it's also about upholding the high standard that we know people are wanting to be working to. We've got a bit at the bottom about complying with CPD requirements. So that's something that we're working on at the moment, and I'll be talking about later today to find out more about what you think. And as I've mentioned, the requirements will be reviewed annually and may be amended as the work progresses. So we know that our practice might change and that things might, the way that people register might have to be tweaked, but we hope that this will be the process to start with anyway. And so finally, just some more work that we need to do to support the creation of the register. Ben covered some of this. So we need to think about, at some point, developing more guidance to support registrants. So helping people understand more about scope of practice and knowing when they feel competent to work with particular groups. And also some guidance around CPD or continuous professional development and how much and how to record that. We also need to think about who's going to be assessing the register applications and then test the register with an initial round. And there's still more work to be done around fees for joining the register as well. So I think that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the routes for now. As I said, the main document will be up on the Trellis website soon. And if people do have specific questions because they didn't make it along before, do feel free to get in touch with me. I don't know if there's anything anyone wants to ask at the moment, or if not, we can move on.
Can I quickly ask a question?
Of course.
The version that's up currently on the website, is that the previous iteration then?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, super.
Yeah.
So when's it like to come up, the new update coming on?
In the next week or so.
Okay.
Yeah. We've been working on that this week.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Emma, and thank you for all your work on this piece of it. It's brilliant, and yeah, key component for the development of the association. And any other questions before we move on? No? Okay, great. So we're going to move on to competencies. My room is getting darker and darker. I don't know. It's suddenly winter, isn't it? Is that better? Can you see me? I can see you. That's good. Yeah, well, it's autumn, isn't it? But it's certainly changing, isn't it? So competencies, we've been doing quite a lot of work over the summer, looking at and developing competencies. So we had a work party who met sort of 3 or 4 meetings, kind of developing and building on some initial work. So here we go. Can you all see that okay? Okay. So what are the competencies? So what we were aiming to build was a sort of list of abilities that STH practitioners would need to be able to fulfill their responsibilities safely and effectively. And we want that to happen in line with the practice standards and the code of ethics. And then, challenged to write that in an easily understandable language so that everybody can pick it up and to get to grips with it. Why do we need a set of competencies? Well, really, they're there to guide each of the registrants in their personal development and practice, to support decisions that we're making about suitability of prospective registrants. So it kind of supports those routes to registration by really kind of being really clear about what is needed, what abilities are needed to be able to practice as a social and therapeutic horticulture practitioner, to kind of really guide decisions about which training courses should be included, and to support training providers in understanding what they need people to be able to do at the end of those courses, by really clarifying again what people need to be able to do to be able to practice as well. So really key document that's kind of integrated with lots of the other work as well. So the approach that we took was to look at other documents, to consider kind of what was specific to our sector, and to really develop a document that worked for us. We kind of had and developed an initial draft from some previous work that we had in-house at Thrive, and kind of took that forward, as I say, with that working party of volunteers from this forum. So the work party kind of developed it through sort of 3-4 meetings, looking at each one, clarifying the language, thinking about how it might work in different settings, and kind of working through the concerns and saying, okay, what else is missing? Are there any omissions? And then we kind of refined it and developed it. So that draft is now available. The competencies draft is available on Trellis's website, and there's also we're currently in the kind of consultation phase. So there's an open survey. So we'd really love to ask everyone to have a look at that document in detail, to kind of think about it, to think about each section, and then there's a question to kind of answer in reference to kind of whether you'd be able to sign up to that, and if not, why not, in the same way that we've done with the standards of practice and the code of ethics before it as well. Once we've done that, once we've got your feedback through that survey, then we'll go through each of the points, we'll reflect on them, we'll see how it fits, we'll try to see whether they're where the changes need to be made, whether there's things that we need to add, and how we can develop it further before kind of publishing a final version after that. The survey will probably have it open for about another 2 weeks. We don't want to keep it, we want to keep the momentum moving. So if you could get that kind of your feedback back to us in the next couple of weeks, that would be really appreciated. I will pop the survey link in the chat as well in a minute, in case that's helpful. So one of the key challenges just to flag in relation to the competencies was just really the breadth of different sort of settings and ways of working. And so you might see that come through. There might be things in there that you think, how would that work in my setting? How would that work for me in the kind of relationship I have with my employer or the kind of organization I work in? So there's lots of things there to kind of really think through. We've tried to keep it kind of open and keep it really focused on the abilities, the skills that people need to be able to fulfill the role, and to keep it grounded in practice and what people are doing. So I'll stop that. Great. So that's kind of where we're up to in terms of the competencies. In terms of the kinds of things they're covering, if you haven't had a chance to see the document yet, we're kind of looking at, got a section on horticulture, we've got a section on developing the program, how the sessions fit together, the overarching, we've got a section on kind of sessions, and kind of there's elements in terms of developing and maintaining a positive social environment, professional practice, legal and ethical boundaries within which to operate. So it's really kind of a really thorough way of looking at it, and hopefully you'll see that when you look at the document as well. There's key terms, so if there's anything that's unclear or there's any words you think, what does that phrase mean, and you'd like those to be, other words to be added to the key terms document, then you can feed that back via the survey as well. So I suppose you just come for questions in relation to the competencies, if there's any questions on those or any comments from anybody who's already had a chance to look at it. If not, we can go to Emma. So yeah, we'll go to Emma then on CPD if you're ready, Emma. Yeah. Cool.
I think we've got a couple of questions in the chat, Ben.
Right.
I had just said to people if they want to have a look at the competencies and complete the survey if they haven't done already, Christina had put the link to the page where you can do that. So if you click on that link, it will take you to, if you scroll down, you can download the competencies and access the survey and complete that. I think Zoe has a question. I don't know if you want to come in on that, Zoe.
Yes, hi. Yeah,
Hi.
because hi, I'm sorry, is that I'm registered in Hong Kong. So because for us, when we need to register, we have to apart from the study, we have to do 6 internships in different organizations to serve different kind of clients, let's say dementia, elderly, or depression clients, or children with special needs, etc. So I'm wondering, how do we, if the new system in the UK, how to assess the competency and the skill? Will we need to do the internship or anything again?
Yeah, so in a sense, at the point of registration, the competency will be assessed through the routes to the register. So the documents and the information that Emma was kind of talking about before. So either because somebody's developed those competencies through a training route, or they can demonstrate it through kind of experience and case studies and those kinds of things as well. So in terms of the forms for how that's going to work, we haven't completely worked those through yet, but essentially the 2 documents will work together, and yeah, people will have to be able to demonstrate that they meet the competencies through one of those routes to the register.
Okay, so we just provide the documents and the reference will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Emma.
Okay, and then yeah, essentially a panel. Well, the plan is to have a panel to review those documents, and so there'll be a couple of people on the panel with eyes on that to assess whether or not it meets the criteria. And then we're talking about, how does that work in relation to somebody doesn't meet it? Do they get feedback and a chance to, submit some further evidence, or at what point is an application not accepted and there's a chance to appeal and those kinds of things. So it's when I was talking earlier about one of the key steps being kind of the development of those policies and approaches, it's those kind of policies that are going to really bottom out sort of how that kind of the mechanisms of that within the association. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a question from Sally, which is about how to raise emissions if there's a gap within the competencies, how to raise that. So at the bottom of the survey, there's a box which is something entitled like other or something along those lines. So if you notice anything throughout the document where you think there's another competency which I'm aware of but I think you've missed, please just pop that straight into the other box, and yeah, we'll pick that up there and just make it, if you can make it as clear as possible for us that yeah, you see this as a gap, and you would suggest that we add or something like that, then that would be great.
Oh, okay, I've just actually thought of this after the event, I'm afraid.
But you can fill the survey in again.
Can I do it
fine.
more than once?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, fine. It's
That's
just
fine.
happened to be, yeah, just,
No,
yeah.
don't worry.
No worries.
Okay, good.
If you have any problems with that, Sally, feel free to email
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
well.
it's actually quite challenging, you know, that other filling that thing in, because it does something strange with the line feeds. So I had about 3 points to raise on that other.
No.
Spoiler alert, and it actually was quite difficult to fill it in and keep the sense of what I was saying. So I'm not confident what I've submitted actually will make a lot of sense anyway. It's just not very easy to use because it sort of works on a single line, doesn't it?
Is that on a laptop or on a phone, Sally? Just so we can try and see if we can
It's
make
on
it
a
work
laptop.
better. On a laptop. Okay, I'll have a look at it and see why that might be.
Yeah,
not
it's just a
feeling
bit
very easy.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. But just drop an email over. That's fine. We can. If
Okay,
you have any,
yeah,
I
I'll
can
just
do
raise
that
something.
again.
It's just something that came up quite recently, actually. I've been on a training at Thrive, and I was just reviewing it actually after I'd done it, and it struck me that there's aspects of it that aren't covered actually in the competencies. So I thought it would be helpful to raise it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please do. Yeah. Please do. Yeah, so you can email Emma, email me. That's absolutely fine if you're not able to put it into the survey.
Well, I don't mind putting it in again. It just might skew your results.
Okay, brilliant. Oh, well, thank you all so much. And yeah, we're going to keep working on those. As I say, the survey will be out for around about 2 weeks. Please do share your feedback and thoughts. And then once we've got that, then yeah, we'll take that feedback on board. We'll rework any areas and add to it as needed, and then we'll get it published on the Trellis website. Great. I'm going to hand back to Emma for our kind of main item, which is around CPD.
Hi, I notice I'm getting darker and I've now got every single light in my room on and there's nothing else I can do. So sorry, you just have to accept that it's definitely autumn in Scotland. So I'm going to put some slides up in a minute, but just to reassure you, I won't be talking for too long and we will go into groups to allow you to have a chat and feedback on this topic. And hopefully that'll give you a bit of a chance to find out more about one another as well, because we know that that's also part of the benefit of coming to the forum. But I will pop my slides up now just to quickly talk you through CPD and I guess our thoughts and learning on this so far, and then we'll hand it over to you. So let's share again. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. So we're going to be talking, as I mentioned, about continuous professional development, or CPD. Oh, my slides aren't moving. Why is that? Oh, there we go. Sorry, just a delay. I mentioned this already, and I've tried to include some photos in this presentation because it always keeps me awake, just having nice photos and trying to remember the amazing work that you're all doing as well. So that's what I covered before, just the purpose of the association. And so I wanted to include some quite wordy, maybe we'll come up with an even better one ourselves, quote, although one is Thrive, so I shouldn't say that, should I? The shortest one, Ben, is yours. But yes, some definitions or descriptions of what CPD actually is. So if you look at any profession's website, you'll find a description of what CPD is. And in summary, it's just about people developing their knowledge and skills, keeping themselves up to date as their practice might change, or as policy or research changes around them, and allowing them to progress and develop in their chosen field. It helps them to stay competent and effective in their work, and also make sure that the services that they're providing are good quality and work for the people that are coming along to them. And so I think probably when we think of CPD, we think going to lots of training, but actually CPD can include all sorts of different types of activities. So alongside training, which can make up all of your CPD if that's how you want to manage it yourself, it can also include observing other practitioners and then reflecting on that, thinking about your own practice after seeing the work that someone else is doing, having a discussion with a line manager or a colleague that then again helps you reflect on your own practice and make changes, attending a conference or an information sharing event, doing some reading, doing some research. And there are lots and lots of other activities that you could include in your CPD record or count as CPD. And the counselling psychotherapists and lots of other professions as well, actually, the more I looked at, they all use this CPD cycle in some form or another to help people think about the fact that CPD is not a static learning event. So it's not something you go to, listen to, and then never think about again. Although I'm sure we can all think of situations where that's happening. But the hope is that you are thinking about why you want to go and do that learning, that you do the learning, and that you are then planning what you might do differently or changes you might make in your practice, and then putting that into action and evaluating it. So it doesn't have to be a lot of work around the training. It's just sort of thinking about what might I do differently now and how might that impact the work that I do with the people that come along to sessions to make sure that it's really embedded in your practice. So as a new association with a new register, we'll need to think about how much CPD we think that practitioners should complete. And so we definitely want to make sure that it's what's needed. So we're mindful of not making sure that registrants are overburdened, but we do want to keep public protection in mind. So again, it's finding that balance between the two. And as always, it's helpful to have a look at other professions. So I have quite a big long list, but these were just a few that I thought it might be helpful for you to see. So play therapists, another kind of emerging profession, currently ask their registrants to complete 30 hours per year. Again, that's not all training courses. It can be a mixture of all different kinds of learning. The British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy also ask for 30 hours per year. The Institute of Case Managers ask for, so they describe theirs slightly differently. So they ask people to engage in a variety of CPD activities, at least 2 types per year on a regular basis, with at least 1 activity every 3 months. So that's quite specific, and we might have views on whether we want it to be as specific as that or not. And then early learning and childcare practitioners. So this is Scotland. I think it's good to compare Scotland versus UK-wide registers just to always have a look at different types. So they ask for 60 hours over 5 years. So that comes to approximately 12 hours per year. So there is quite a sort of, I guess, a difference between the people that are asking for more and less. And it's just something for you to all start to think about in terms of maybe what's happening now, but also what we might hope for our profession as things move forward. And then alongside that, we want to think about how might we record our CPD. So different registers use different methods. Some ask people to complete a log that they provide them with that can either be filled out online or printed and kept with people, and they can fill it in when they're out and about. So we can have a think about what might we like to use. And then also thinking about the types of information that we might want to record. So at the moment, when I've looked at other CPD records and ones I've had to complete in the past, there isn't anything that would surprise you. So it tends to be dates of activities, the title, any reflections on your learning, and anything that you might plan to change or implement after doing that learning or activity. So I haven't come across any registers that ask for huge screeds of reflection, but that would be up to the individual. But we might want to have categories that people need to complete to show the learning that they've completed. And so now we'd like to hear from you. I don't know how many people we have now, Ben. I can't see everyone because I've got my slides open.
Yeah, we've got enough to do breakout rooms, I
Yeah.
think.
So I think if we ask Ben to put you into breakout rooms, and once you're there, I can paste this text in so you can see the questions. So I think you'll be able to see that when you're in the breakout rooms. But really, in summary, we want you to have a think about your own CPD needs. So what do you feel you need right now? What kind of training would you be interested in? What are you wanting to learn more about? And what do you think would really improve your practice? And I guess on the other side from that is there anything you're worried about that you don't have at the moment? So what are your CPD needs? And then recording your CPD. What ways have you used in the past? What's worked well? Is there anything that you just think, I really wouldn't want to do that again? Or perhaps, and I suspect this is probably the case for quite a lot of us in STH, but maybe I'm wrong, CPD recording might not be on your radar at the moment. And what do you think would help that change? So I think every group could probably, hopefully we'll have time to discuss both of these if you try and give yourself enough time to cover them both, and then we'll give ourselves time to feedback. And I've put my email address there as well if people have thoughts afterwards, because something might come to you later. Do feel free to just get in touch. So I'm just looking at time, Ben. We're at 7:15. Due to finish at 8 with 10 minutes. So I think we've got about 40 minutes, which is what we hoped for, haven't we? So if we give people maybe 10, 15 minutes in the groups and then come back and allow people to feedback.
Yeah, great.
Does anyone have any questions before we?
Well, everyone's back in the same room now, so we've got everyone back. Emma, are you going to gather feedback?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Yeah, so I think we've got time, which is great, and it would be lovely to hear each group, I guess, if you're able to either nominate a person to feedback a little bit, or you can all do it together, whatever you prefer. I don't know if the groups have numbers or anything, Ben, or if...
135.
Okay. Do people know what group they were in? I don't know if I know what group I was. Yeah, people do good, paid better attention than me. So let's go for group 1 then. Does anyone know that they were in group 1?
Yep, I was in
Christina?
group 1.
Okay, well done, Christina. You also paid better attention than me.
I noticed, yeah. And we managed to cover quite a lot of ground. We thought generally some things you would expect. Obviously, CPD is going to be partly person's unpaid time, and partly it could be if you're employed, then your employer may be paying you to do that. But the fact that it's some of it's unpaid is a factor to take into account when how much you expect people to do. One thing people mentioned is that finding courses, finding things which will be beneficial to your professional practice is a challenge, and there would be a directory. If the association were able to provide a directory of what's out there, Trellis and Thrive obviously are known about, but that would be really helpful and appreciated. The World Therapeutic Horticulture Day was praised as a source of CPD because finding out what others do is thought to be really important, and to get out of our own expectations, our own mindsets, and realize how it's done differently elsewhere, and that can be inspiring. And the personal development side of it as well was mentioned as being important. It's in order to do your job well as an STH practitioner, you can't just be developing your sort of professional skills in that sense, because it's coming from all of you. So the personal development side is valid to think about as well. We did talk about how much might be expected. And obviously it's not quite stick your finger in the air, but 25 hours a year could be reasonable. 30 hours a year could be reasonable, but maybe not necessarily across a whole year, maybe an expectation per quarter. I mean, there's a lot of different factors to think about. And one recommendation was that it's fine to do a great deal of your CPD by research, reflection online and all that sort of thing. But it's so beneficial to actually go somewhere in person, to visit another site, for example, visit other colleagues, and have that injection of inspiration that we all experience when you go and actually see somebody else's work and connect with them that way. People who are in room 1, what else have I forgotten to say? Okay, thumbs up from Anna. Okay. And Juliet and Anita's not correcting me either. Okay, thank you very much. So I think those are the kinds of things we were thinking about.
Thanks, Christina. It's all super helpful. And I'll be watching this recording of you all back later to take notes of everything that everyone's been saying. And it really is all super helpful. And yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Thinking about the different types of CPD and making sure that you could do step outside your usual workplace and connect with others. That came up in my group as well. Okay.
You're in group 2, Emma, so you can talk.
Okay, great. I did take notes. Is everyone happy with me? I'm happy if someone else would rather do it, but I did scribble low down.
You go.
Everyone looks fine. Okay. So we talked about initially sort of, I guess, what we're doing right now and what we might hope for. And I think everyone felt that it was beneficial. One type of beneficial activity might be visiting other groups or shadowing other practitioners. And we talked about how some of us had done that recently and learned a lot from just seeing how someone else might deliver the same activity in a different way or approach something differently, and how that can really help us reflect. Oh,
Yeah.
I think we've got a lovely kid in the background somewhere. We also, so similarly talked about visiting different sites and seeing how people were working with different groups. And also that kind of went further than just being a CPD requirement, that it helped us to just keep connected to the network of practitioners around us, because we know that often people are working solo in a place. We also talked about supervision discussions and how explaining a case study to someone can help you to voice, I guess, more clearly the person that you're working with and describe why you might take a certain approach to that person, any sort of theories or methods that you're using, and sort of describe how you might be meeting that person's needs. So just take you out of the doing and back into the thinking about the why you might be doing something a certain way. And then we had a chat about, so we were all from either health or care backgrounds previously, so that was quite interesting. And we talked about the different not so helpful methods of CPD collecting that we've all accessed in the past, with them being either too prescriptive or technically tricky, not saving what you're doing. But also people have used ones that have been more straightforward, and I think it seemed to be the conclusion was the more simple and accessible, the better. We didn't want it to be anything too prescriptive. We talked about different ways of recording CPD as well, so that it might not just be written. It might be that we upload a photo alongside what we're saying we've done to help jog our own memory, but just also as a kind of another way of evidencing what we've been doing, because we know that a lot of the work we do is very physical and out in nature. So maybe recording using a photo or another sort of piece of evidence might be a way of recording what we've been doing. Did I miss anything, anybody? I think that was us. No? Okay. That was group 2. So should we go on to group 3?
It was Claire, Julia, and myself.
Okay. Anyone fancy feeding back what you were chatting about?
I can start. I can make a start.
Thanks, Leila.
You're welcome. I was sharing with the group that I recently have a supervision by City and Guilds, and and one of the conversations was around CPD, and just visiting a garden or a garden center. It could be another way of being inspired, bring that into your practice. I don't know if people came across about something like that, but to me it was like, oh, I'm visiting so many gardens, yeah, and keeping my CPD updated in that sense, in that regard. We also said about learning more about the clients we working with. I think that was maybe said before. And Claire, I think we said like it was said before, observing other colleagues and sharing good practice. And I think the rest of it, it has been said.
Yeah, you talked about adding new activities to our sort of practice, like willow weaving or some craft like pottery or other things that you can do with natural materials or whatever. That was one of the other things you mentioned. We didn't get so much onto discussing how long you should spend doing CPD each year, but I was trying to tot up in my head, and I might try and do this after the meeting. The charity I work for has a requirement of us to do a certain number of courses every year that come up every year. So like first aid comes up every 2 years, safeguarding comes up every year, food hygiene comes up every I don't know what. And these are usually online courses that we have access to through our organisation. So you do the online course and you get a certificate at the end of it, and then you submit the certificate. And that maybe takes, a couple of hours or something like that to go through the online course. But that means we all get the same training from that point of view. And then we have other courses that the charity puts on for everybody, maybe once or twice a year, that we all do together. On really random different sorts of things. We had a sort of kind of psychology and behaviour-based training on Monday last week. In the past, we've done something called intensive interaction, which is really, really useful. In terms of what else? Those are probably the main sort of slightly different ones that aren't really directly related to STH, but more about, as Leila was saying, the types of clients we're working with and how to work with them. I think that was what we discussed. In terms of recording, we agreed with basically what you put up there, Emma, and I like the ideas of photographs or something like that as well.
Great. Yeah, and I think I don't know why, but I probably would if I really sat down and thought about it. But you're right, Leila, from the horticultural side, we do change our practice, don't we, when we see other spaces and think about how to grow differently, and that can give all sorts of new activities and sessions and ways of gardening with different groups, and help us to kind of just get our own feel inspired and positive, if we've been in our own little place for a wee while. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. So I think we're on to group 4.
Yes, I can speak or start on behalf of that group, and the others can pick up where I forget things. I'd just like to say a very warm welcome to Julia, who's joining us from a very long way away this evening. So it's great to have her with us. We talked about some of the same things, that it'd be really nice to have a directory of training so that we could find courses that we think we need easily, because it's not always easy to find this unique cocktail of skills that we need as practitioners. So that was an echo from us too, from that same idea. And then Zoe mentioned coming from Hong Kong and being registered there. She, went from being very qualified in all the skills to sort of thinking, oh gosh, very different climate, and a lot of indoor growing in Hong Kong, and now here in the UK, outdoor growing in kind of some plants that you wouldn't think would grow, and given the weather here, and just starting again, not starting from zero, but needing some learning about basic planting ideas, growing fruit. And she was thinking that was maybe a bit special to her, coming from another another place, another growing environment. But I said, no, actually, that'd be very typical among possibly nurses or GPs or occupational therapists here who've never really looked into gardening, although they like it, and they like the idea and they want to use it. And then they come into this field and realize, oh, there's a lot to learn about gardening. So I think horticulture training is one area of CPD that is probably, we think it's too obvious because it's in the name of the job, but actually is something that we should make sure there's lots of information available. And we were also discussing whether the association will get to the point of looking through different horticulture training courses and pegging them as equivalent or as enough training for registration and so on. And I think that's a stage down the line. We also talked about learning in expanding the breadth of client group needs that you're competent to work with. And that one is one we can all relate to. And there was definitely, I think Sally was expressing a preference for that kind of in-person learning, actually going there, feeling what's going on in the room in your own viscerally, you know, because it is something that you learn better in person, either through visits or work experience or maybe a sabbatical than you do in just a theoretical course. So working with other client groups and learning how to do that, possibly mental health first aid and those other courses are useful, but nothing beats that in-person experience. And of course, you need the supervision to go along with that, ideally, to sort of really back up how you assimilate that learning. In Hong Kong, we heard from Zoe that they would quite often learn from other health professionals, like an occupational therapist, play therapist, physiotherapist, and you can imagine how much we could learn from those people if we had the opportunity to learn from these other professionals in our own settings. Counselling was another one that we thought would be really helpful to know about, and I know from my own practice way in the past mostly that kind of active listening as a precursor to actual counselling skills is really important to really have good rapport with clients. We didn't get to discussing how to record it, I don't think, very much, but there was also mention of technical specialists, you know, people who may be good with technology that's designed to help with older people or people with communication disabilities. That would be really nice to learn from, to see how we might use that in our work. And also links with academia, so with universities. I know that we find that really beneficial at Trellis, and we can learn a lot from people in universities. How do they assess our work and its outcomes and its impact, and what's the latest research, and how can we then take that and work it into our practice? Yeah, so that was our group. Zoe, Sally, anything to add?
No, not from me, thanks. That was a pretty comprehensive summary.
You can see there's a few comments about that in the chat that we could all read if we might not have time to go into them, but we can have a read. Thank you for those. Yeah, thanks, Emma.
I think the comments are just kind of echoing what you've been saying, Fiona, and agreeing with some of those elements. And actually, when you were talking about the directory, it did make me think of it might be too techy, but whether there's a way in future, at some point down the line, of practitioners being able to kind of let the network know of training they've been on that's been helpful, you know, so that we can find it rather than us all, you know, because we do so many different things, don't we? Okay. And finally, group 5 then.
I think that was myself and Julie. We had a few technical issues, so we only got about 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's fine. It'd be really good to know actually how to communicate into the main group when you're in a breakout room, because I did put a message in the chat, but I don't think it really went anywhere. So that was fine. Well, yeah, because we talked a little bit in the chat, using the chat box. But from that's just reminded me from what people were sharing was the Chartered Institute of Horticulture in England is as a separate STH group, and they organise to visit other gardens probably about every sort of few months. And I went to the last one, which was in North Yorkshire, a garden which has a STH arm to it. And so I think that, and people have said how that's, really beneficial in terms of CPD. So that definitely gained a lot from that. And obviously, we're with other practitioners. So it was really useful to share those conversations with people. I'm on an NHS site at the moment, so I can access a lot of free training with the NHS. So that's really useful. I know some people have mentioned about whether you're paying for the CPD. So I know it can be quite expensive. I just started the Thrive introduction course. I've managed to get funding for it, but I think it was like over £200. So and then we ended up talking about where we'd done our training, and Julie's at Wisley doing community horticulture group. So yeah, it kind of went off on a bit of a tangent. Sorry.
No, not at all.
I was also thinking about whether people would, if they work part-time, because a lot of people I know work part-time, there obviously need to be a minimum amount of, you couldn't prorata it completely. So somebody doing one day did a fifth of the training probably, but there might be some concession for people who don't work full-time.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, doesn't it? You definitely don't want it to be something that doesn't feel balanced with the amount of work that someone's doing as well. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So much feedback there, and it's really nice just to hear what everyone's thoughts on all of it. It's a bit of work that we'll be doing over the next little while, starting to come up with some ideas based on what you've said today, and hopefully at some point soon we'll have something that we can show you all, some ideas, tools that we might be able to suggest, and then we can have a think about how that might work going forward. So yeah, appreciate all of your thoughts on it. Super helpful.
Well, thank you, Emma. Thank you all. That's really great. So that brings us sort of to the end of our sort of agendaed items. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate all of the inputs as well. Just to recap, as mentioned right at the beginning, kind of next key steps are going to be around kind of taking the work on the competencies forward and getting that finalised. So please do complete the survey as well as lots of the other steps that we mentioned earlier in the session. Dates for the next year are now out, so please do put dates in your diary for the forum events, as we'll have two dates next year, which are the 28th of April and the 27th of October. So please do pop those in your diaries. It's just a great way for us to kind of come back together. We'll continue to work across all of those actions as we go. We'll be able to share kind of updates then in terms of progress that we've made since this meeting. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the end. I don't know whether Fiona, Emma, Christina would like to say any final words before we finish. If not, yeah. Fiona, go on, partner.
Did you mention the next meeting dates? Sorry, I was typing furiously in the chat, so I didn't.
No, yes, yeah, I just did.
You just did, sorry.
No, that's fine. The 28th of April and the 27th of October.
Thank you. Yeah, I just, well, good you've mentioned that double now, so that we'll definitely have it in our diaries and not have an excuse for missing that. I think it's been really helpful meeting, actually, and really nice to have an international dimension as well to learn from. I hope everyone feels encouraged. I know some of it can be a little bit not bureaucratic, but a lot of this stuff is not the stuff that makes us wake up in the morning full of passion for our work. But I think it's really heartening to see how it's developing, and you've all really helped it move forward, because we always wanted this to be super consultative and have everyone's voices involved. So thank you, and I hope you're finding it helpful. And if not, please tell us what we could change to make it more helpful. That's all. Thanks.
Well, okay. Well, thank you all so much. It's been lovely to see you, and yeah, we'll see you all soon. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Good to see you all.
Bye.
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 Bye.